I'm Carol Bacak-Egbo, historian for Oakland County Parks. Join me now for an episode of History in Our Parks. The Search for the Williams Homestead, a Waterford Oaks County Park story. In 1819, Oliver and Mary Williams and their family followed the Saginaw Trail out from Detroit, where they were living. And they settled on 320 acres of land in Section 13 of what would become Waterford Township. Their homestead was right along the Saginaw Trail and on the banks of Silver Lake. Eventually, part of their farm would become part of Waterford Oaks County Park. They built a large house and a barn. The house was used as a trading post. Because of the historical significance of the homestead, there was a lot of interest in finding archaeological evidence of the homestead. I was fortunate in getting a grant from the U.S. Department of Education to do just that. The project included archaeologists Richard Stamps, Bruce Hawkins, and Charlie Martinez, and archaeology students from Oakland University, and teachers from the Waterford School District, and lots of community members. The project began, however, not with digging into the earth, but digging into the documents. We began by looking at the 1838 Bella Hubbard map. The Williams Homestead was shown on that map. It was right along the Saginaw Trail and on the banks of the lake. A search of the deeds to the property showed that the property had transferred from the Williams family to the Leroy family. That took us to the 1872 map, which showed the Leroy farm. And the Leroy house was in the approximate location that the Williams homestead had been on the earlier map. We were fortunate to be able to find a photograph of the Leroy house. Architecturally, it was Second Empire and likely built around the 1870s. We decided that it was likely that the Oliver Williams homestead was on the same site. But what was on that site now? It turned out to be this house, a Tudor-style house. Research revealed that this house was actually the Leroy house. It had just been modified over time. We concluded that this was the area we needed to excavate, the site of this house. We were fortunate that Ephraim Williams, the oldest of the Williams sons, had done a lot of writing about his family. With clues. The size of the house, the fact that it had a cellar, and the fact that the barn was still there in 1886. With those clues, we began the first test pits in summer of 2008. We chose a spot right near Dixie Highway, which of course was once the Saginaw Trail. A few test pits revealed nothing other than a couple of rocks. So we expanded the dig in spring of 2009. This time, getting help from Oakland University archaeology students. Once again, just a few artifacts were found. So we turned to ground-penetrating radar. This included using small flags to create a huge grid on the property, and then the use of two different types of radar. Results seem to reveal the location of some foundations. Using that information, we plotted everything on a large grid and chose an area for the first trench. A 20-foot trench was marked off, excavated. But no foundation was found, only a few small rocks. Using the radar information, we chose another area, this time for an excavation unit. Again, nothing significant was found. And then another site based on evidence from the radar. This did reveal something that looked like foundation, but it was concrete, so there's no way it could have been part of the Williams homestead. But we did excavate it, finding this object. It turned out to be the base of the flagpole that the McClintock family had put on their home site in the 1920s. And then another trench. This one did reveal something significant. This bottle fragment that turned out to be important. And then an excavation unit up right near the house. That was excavated by Waterford teachers in the rain. Again, just small artifacts were found. Every excavation unit was carefully documented and photographed. Extensive field notes were taken. And what was found? Like this object. When we first began to see it, it was metal and it was kind of bumpy. It was 8 inches by 18 inches. Even before we fully excavated it, people began to speculate about what it was. Some people thought it might be the runner from an old car. Some people thought it might be a piece of the windmill that once was on the property. So we continued to excavate, revealing more and more of it. And what did it turn out to be? A piece of rain gutter. Some artifacts were more interesting. We had a lot of pieces of ceramic. We did have some square nails, fragments of several different kinds of glass, and brick fragments. All of these appeared to be from the late 1800s. But some artifacts were older, like this bottle fragment. It had a pontil scar, which meant it had been hand-blown, and likely it was created before 1860. And there were pipe fragments, likely from a pipe from the 1830s or 1840s. And there were ceramic pieces from the same time period. So had we found the Williams homestead? Well, despite the fact that we had a few old artifacts, we had not found what we were looking for, the foundations of either the house or the barn. So was the project a failure? Absolutely not. It had been an incredible learning experience for a great many people.